Hello, 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 and welcome to Monday Mood as we're going to embrace our life and talk about how we want to move through the week with led by love, kindness, compassion, and peace. Obviously, there's many things that can divert our attention from love, kindness, compassion, and peace, but what we're going to work on is setting the intention behind how we want to show up and how we want our week to go. I am Carol C.C. Miller, your positive life strategist, peace activator, and global hugger, talking about embracing your life. As you see, I have a guest on, and I'm going to introduce him in just a moment. A couple of things that I like to say before I start is one is I'm not an absolutist. Not a big fan of the words always, never, right, wrong, good or bad. There are 8 billion people on this planet. I can't begin to say what is always right or never right for anyone else but myself. So what I work on for my personal life is to be in the 80 to 100% of kind, loving, compassionate, and peaceful. 0 being always negative, 100 being always positive. What does that mean if I'm in the 80 to 100%? It means frustration visits me, fear visits me, anger, disappointment, uncertainty. All the normal feelings that are not right or wrong visit me, and that's what I focus on, is to move forward to feeling a little bit better moment by moment. Sometimes fear hangs on to me a little longer than I would like it to, but because I've made it a daily practice to focus on love, kindness, compassion, and peace, it does not stay with me as long as it perhaps had in the past. I've been doing this work for many years. So if you're new to the thought of controlling, I only know that I like the word control, but if you're new to the thought of managing and paying attention and being aware of how you're moving through your day, through your week, it may seem a little bit overwhelming. I've been doing it for a very long time, and it can still feel overwhelming from occasion, but it's a daily practice for me. So I encourage you, on however you want to show up in the world, is to start with some daily practices to move forward. Secondly, I am a coach, love supporting people in living their best life, whatever that looks like to them. I am not a counselor, nor am I a licensed therapist. And sometimes to live your best life, getting that kind of support is going to help you immensely. I believe you're worthy of living that. So whatever kind of support you need to get there, I encourage you to do so. Paul Zavagno is my guest today. And if you've been around on other Facebook Lives that I've done for several years, you have seen him. He joins me once a month to talk about the work of Byron Katie. Paul, thanks for being here. And first, share who you are, and then also give a little brief explanation of what Byron Katie is and the work.
Well, thank you, Carol. It's a pleasure to be here. I've missed you the last couple months.
I know, it's been crazy.
Nice to be nice to be back, and on Mondays. And I like the idea of starting the week this way. It's a wonderful opportunity. My name's Paul Zavagno. I am a retired educator, so my background was as a teacher and then a school principal for many years. But the last 10 or 15, I've been a facilitator of the work of Byron Katie. Now, the work of Byron Katie is a system developed by a woman named Byron Katie. Some of you may have heard of her, but I'll give you a brief little intro to who she is and what she developed. She was a mother and a businesswoman who experienced over a 10-year period of time a decline into depression, agoraphobia. She was angry at everyone, did not feel like she could even go out into the world at one point. She checked herself into a clinic and was there and had an epiphany one morning. I woke up and realized that all her suffering, all her fear, all her anger was based on believing her thoughts. When she believed them, she suffered. She was angry. She was fearful. And when she didn't, she realized that she was actually okay. Even lying on the floor in this clinic, having this realization, checked herself out, and she started to make sense of this epiphany and started to realize that what was true for her was true for every human being, that our thoughts can create a lot of suffering in our lives. And so you mentioned in your intro that we can have difficulty controlling our thoughts. And it's pretty pointless to try to control them because they happen.
They're going to come.
They're going to come anyway. And it's just frustrating to try to control them. What we recommend in the work is, rather than trying to control them, we do two things. First is identify them, and second is question them. Identifying is harder than it sounds to do, because often the thoughts we have, we just have them and we believe them and we react to them as if they're automatically true just because we thought them.
Well, I know also when you say that, like when we've done the work together, or we used to do it in Chicago live,
yeah.
where like live in person, this is live as well, but in actual physical person.
Right.
And it was not only just the thought, but it was like the multi-layers of it. Like you might be frustrated with X, but it's really Z that you need to inquire about. So
absolutely. And so what the first step in this process is identifying the thought. And typically what we notice as human beings is not even the thought originally, it's a feeling that comes as a result of the thought. So we may notice the anger, we may notice the fear, we may notice the frustration. And starting the week with that is a wonderful opportunity, because often people have thoughts about Monday, right? Mm-hmm. They have them on Sunday night. Oh God, it's going to be Monday. I can remember this as a teacher and as a principal, often also as a student years ago.
Or people are already waiting for the weekend. Like, right. I can't wait for the weekend to come.
It's going to be so much better. So we may have a thought about, oh, Monday's going to be terrible, but we may just have this thought and have the feeling, and we may wake up with that. So what we do in the work is we recognize, oh, here's the feeling. What am I thinking? What am I thinking is wrong? Oh, it's Monday. Monday's going to be a bad day. So Monday's going to be a bad day. There's a thought. Now I've identified it. Now I'm going to take that to the questions. There are 4 questions. You can learn them in 5 minutes. First question is it true? So we take that thought we identified. It's Monday is going to be a bad day. And we ask the question about that. Is that true? Now, we may look inside and think about it, and we anticipate a meeting with the boss and commuting and all this stuff we have to do. And we may say, yeah, Monday's going to be a bad day. And that's just a yes or no question. And is it true for us? Is it true for me that Monday's going to be a bad day? I might say yes. Question number 2, can I absolutely know that it's true that Monday's going to be a bad day? And that it's a similar question. It's also a yes or no answer, but I notice I can't really absolutely know that I think it's going to be a bad day. I believe but I can't know really what's going to happen. Maybe my boss is not there, or maybe he's in a good mood. Maybe some of that work's already done, or it's going to be easier than I thought. Who knows? Maybe the commute will be easier than I can't really know. I'm guessing. So I'm going to say no for me. Might be yes still for someone else in that position. No, I'm sure of it. Then we go to question 3. This is really where we begin to see what the impact of believing this thought. The question is, how do I react? What happens to me when I believe that thought? And I may notice I get tense. I feel fear. I'm judging my workplace and my boss and the commute and the other commuters and this terrible world where there's so much traffic and I have to work. And I may start to go into catastrophic thinking about my finances and my place in this job, and I don't like it. And I may have a lot of frustrating experiences that all cascade into my current experience, sitting at home, having the thought, Monday's going to be a bad day. And I may set myself up for this experience of misery, of suffering.
Right.
when I haven't even left my house yet. I'm not at my commute. I'm not at my workplace, but I'm already having this negative experience. And I might project that out into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Like, oh, it's going to be, not only is Monday going to be bad, but it's going to be a terrible week.
It's just the beginning. Yeah.
Just the beginning of an endless series. So I can go into that experience all out of what happens to me. How do I react to this belief? Question number 4, the last question. Who would I be without that? I'm sitting at home. I'm having my cup of coffee, maybe my cereal. Here comes the thought, Monday's going to be a bad day. Who would I be without believing that thought? Oh, I'm just enjoying my cereal, my coffee. I may be looking through my Facebook or looking through the mail or just enjoying my breakfast and listening to some music.
Yeah.
I'm actually okay. I'm actually not frustrated, not angry, not fearful. I'm at peace in that moment, having my coffee and having my cereal. So those are the 4 questions. Then we do the turnarounds. The turnarounds are a way of experiencing opposites of the original thought. Now, the original thought was Monday's going to be a bad day, right? So one opposite might be Monday isn't going to be a bad day. So I'd look at that and I'd think, okay, now let me look for some examples that Monday isn't going to be a bad day. And I might notice, well, my coffee tastes pretty good. The milk in my refrigerator didn't turn sour, and it's actually working on and it might be okay. And I'm noticing the sun shining today, and the weather forecast is pretty good for a Monday. And those might be some examples. Or I might also try a different kind of turnaround, like I'm going to be a bad day for me, or my thinking is going to be a bad day, and I might see how, my thoughts could create a bad day for it. Certainly, I was seeing in question 3 how it was creating a bad day already before the day had even really begun. But we can also anticipate how, I've noticed in the past when I'm in a bad mood, then I'm snapping at that driver and about the security guard at my workplace, and I'm not in a good mood, and I actually create a worse experience for other people and for me when I'm believing it's going to be a bad day. So I'm going to be a bad day for me. And we try those different kinds of opposites to see. That's how the work works. And it just gives us a different chance, like, if I recognize this, that I'm doing this while I'm sitting there at my breakfast table with my coffee and my cereal, I might have a chance to start afresh for this day and give Monday a chance, and therefore give Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's kind of how the work works.
Well, and I think, I agree with that anyway, but I remember when I first learned the work, it did not make sense to me. And the more I think what I wanted to say is, one of the things, like you're saying, as far as when you're frustrated or whatever, I think it also depends on how frustrated you are. There are many, many times I get super frustrated, and Byron Katie's name, the work, does not come into my head at that moment. 10 minutes later, a half an hour later, maybe an hour later, it's like, oh, let's do the work on that. And for me, I just realized, because one of the things I say to myself daily, sometimes a few times during the day, is who do I want to be and how do I want to show up? And I just realized that's kind of question 4.
Yeah. So, you actually have a choice here.
Yeah.
And you realize that in question 4, who would I be without this thought?
Right.
Because thoughts have identities that match them. Like when I take on and believe the thought, Monday's going to be a bad day, I take on the identity of the victim of a bad day.
Right.
Monday is oppressing me. It's out to get me, and I'm experiencing that. So the answer to your question is, who am I being? Who am I showing up as in that moment? I'm showing up as a victim, as a person that's railing against Monday. Is that who I want to be? Who would I be without that thought? Well, I'm not sure. Now I have a choice. If I have different thought, Monday is going to be a good day. I'm going to show up as a good person on Monday. I'm going to bring, my smile, my energy, my hug. That might be what turns around somebody else's apparently bad Monday. Or someone could come onto this conversation and hear us talking and think, okay, there's a different way to be. I don't have to. What we recognize is thoughts, while we can't control them, they do have power.
Right.
And when we have a thought like Monday is going to be a bad day, and we just automatically accept it and believe it, then we live our life out of that. That's who we're being. We forget that there was a point in time where we chose to believe it. And that's what the work's doing. The other thing you pointed out here is it doesn't always happen in the moment, right? Like you might have that same experience I described, grumble through your cereal, grumble through your coffee, grumble through the first part of your commute. And then you might have the thought, what the heck am I doing? Why am I experiencing this terrible experience on Monday? And you might have that awareness later. You get done with your commute, you get to the office, your workplace, you have a quieter moment. Might not be till later that night, might be the next day, but you might have the awareness, wow, I was really kind of in a trance, believing that thought, and I lived my whole first experience of that day out of that trance. Now, I'm back at home on Monday night. I can go back into that experience and do the work then, right? It doesn't save my Monday. I still experience that stress and suffering, but I can undo it a little bit on Monday night. And now if I have the same thought on Tuesday morning, maybe I experience that a little bit different way. Maybe it's like, I'm having that thought about Tuesday.
Yeah.
That I was experiencing yesterday, and I saw what that led to. Do I want to do that again or not? Now, just in that question, I'm noticing there's that choice. Who do I want to be on Tuesday? And so we set ourselves up, and we really only always have the choice of believe it or identify it and question it. Believe it or question it. You can, if you are believing it and you're fine, like Monday's going to be a great day and this brings you joy and you just move ahead, there's no need to question it.
Yeah.
Still might not be true, right?
Right.
But you're having a good experience, so there's no need to take yourself out of that good experience and question it. But if you're not having a good experience, this is an alternative. Why am I not having a good experience? What do I think is wrong? The commute's going to be terrible. My boss is going to be mad. I hate this work that I do. Whatever that thought is, write that thought down and bring it to the 4 questions. Is it true? Because a lot of times we're just having thoughts habitually. One of the things I noticed after doing this work, it's been probably 15 years now for me of doing this, is a lot of these thoughts are very, very similar, very, very repetitive, right? We have them all the time. I'm not the first person to come up with Monday's going to be a bad day. Right?
Or the second or third.
Yeah, somebody came up with that. Probably the person right after they came up with the concept of Monday. Right? It was millennia ago, but we took it on. And a lot of them things we've learned from the media, from our teachers, from our parents, from our friends, from our workplace, from our religious leaders. We learned, work's hard, and you're going to have to suffer and when you work, and we have a lot of these beliefs.
Yeah.
I like to think of them as adopted beliefs. We took them on at some point, often when we were very young, right?
Right.
We have taken on that thought about Monday not being a good day when we were 6 and we had to go to school the next day. And we thought we weren't going to have a good experience in school. Maybe we didn't. And we adopted that thought. And then we've lived out of that thought. This is going to be a bad day. This is going to be a bad week. Something, just the more general thought, something bad is going to happen. Well, people will have that just walking down the street.
Or even if something's going well, when is the shoe going to drop? Like
right.
that kind of thing. It's like, it can't be this good for that long. So.
Right. I'm not going to be able to hang on to that. I'm going to lose this feeling of joy, of love, of peace that I'm experiencing right now. So I'm going to lose that. Is that true? And what we can discover in that is, if you believe, yes, I'm going to lose that, how do you react when you believe that thought? You lose it immediately. Like, even though nothing bad happened, there was no other shoe that dropped, you did it to yourself, right? Thoughts create that experience. And that is often the case. We imagine a future, in this case, Monday or Tuesday or whatever it is. We imagine a future that's not happening. It's imaginary. But then we react to that imagination as if it's already happening. And we experience what we think is going to happen in the imaginary future, but we experience it now. Like, we're not going to wait for a bad Monday to come. I want to have it right now at my breakfast table.
Let's get it over right now.
And that's what we do. So I chuckle about it. It's funny in a way because it's very human that we do this. There's nothing wrong with us.
Oh my.
It's just like, that's the human experience. We have a thought, we believe it, and we have a reaction to that belief, often negative, often stressful.
And research shows that the majority of us are set to see things in a negative way. And it was a self-protection, or you're having to fight or flight kind of thing. So it's very, very common to start off with that. And that's where the awareness of inquiring on it. And I also wanted to add, and maybe it's not true for everyone, but I certainly believe it to have an impact. I think sometimes when we're going through something hard, trying to feel better, there's almost a guilt to it. Like, this is real, or a family member's going through something hard, or, somebody that you love. So feeling good does not feel right, kind of thing. But I personally know for myself, when I am coming from frustration, fear, or anger, I am in blame, shame. Well, I'm not in shame. That's too big of a word for me. But I blame and complain. And I am not focused on solutions. I am not focused on compassion and kindness. I'm focused on what I don't want in my life and in the world. But when I come in and inquire about it and go back into, I want to show up with peace, I want to show up with love, kindness, and compassion, then I'm able to look for solutions rather than the blame and complain. And I would also add, because I'm a very word sensitive person, my blame and complain is mostly in my thoughts. It does not come out in my words that often, or maybe to a special few people who get to hear my complaints. But mainly mine is, my thoughts are like, how dare they do that, or whatever. So
right. And if you're having a loved one or friend or someone who's going through some difficult times, it can feel selfish. Feel joy and peace first and then encounter them. But think about it from another perspective. If you're going through something tough, Do you want someone else going through their own tough thing to come and comfort you? Do you want someone that's in a peaceful, loving, compassionate place to be your comforter? And so to me, I much rather have someone that's at peace and in a compassionate place be compassionate toward me than someone that's angry and frustrated.
Yeah. Or even if it's you that's going through that hard thing, like just bringing a little compassion and inquiring on it for yourself.
Absolutely.
Instead of saying in that, I mean, because listen, Paul, we all know there are hard things going on in the world and probably in everyone's life of some sort. So that's one of the things that I really like about the work is it brings it back into your awareness and what you can, like I can stay mad and angry and whatever, and that's okay if I choose to do it because I'm in awareness. But when I'm not aware and I'm just on autopilot, life is living me and I'm no longer in control.
One of the things I've really appreciated about the work is it doesn't spiritual bypass. It doesn't. Question 3 is, how do I react? What happens to me when I believe it's going to be a bad day? I get into the suffering of it. I feel the stress. I feel it in my body. I feel the emotions. I notice how I treat other people. There's not a denial of that negative experience. There's actually an appreciation of it, a letting it live in the process. I don't want to stay stuck in it forever, but I want it to live and breathe because that's
it's there.
It's that, whether I want it or not, it's there.
Yeah.
And so I'm appreciating that and accepting it in question 3. How do I react? But I'm also seeing the other side of it in question 4. Who would I be without that? Oh, and now I come to see, there's that choice. Believe it. This is how my life goes. Don't believe it. This is how it looks differently. This is who I am when I believe it. This is who I am when I'm not. This is how the alternatives show up for me. So it's going to be a good day. How does that feel? It's going to be a bad day. How does that feel? Which is more compassionate to me? Which is more compassionate to the people in my life that I'm going to encounter on this day? So I look at that, and it doesn't happen overnight. It's a practice. It's a spiritual practice. It's an inquiry practice. If you're interested in this, I recommend a couple things. One, if you're a reader or you like to listen to books on tape, I would recommend getting Katie's first book called Loving What Is. It's available on Amazon. It's available in most libraries. The other thing you can do is go to thework.com. That's her website, and there's lots of practical advice. It's all free. There are worksheets you can do, and explains the kind of thing I'm explaining here. You can also go on YouTube and just type in Byron Katie and look for her doing the work, actually asking these questions and doing the work with various people. And it may be on a person that's saying Monday's going to be a bad day, and you can see how they react.
I did not YouTube that, but I probably should have, because there's almost every question out there. And doing the work, seeing Katie do it, it really does add a lot to it. Or if Paul were to show up going through an experience with somebody, to see the work in process is very powerful. And I personally have found, because we used to do it in a group environment, and I would do the work on something as well, but I tended to find my aha moments in listening to other people doing their work. I'm like, oh, I could see where my hang up or whatever was from listening to their work. So
we're often very clear how other people are messing up their lives, not so clear on ourselves. So it really is a lot of times easier to see how this mechanism operates in someone else. And then you might notice, oh, I react the same way when I believe that thought. But you might also notice I react differently. One person might get angry, another person might withdraw. One person might blame the other object, and another person blames themselves.
Right.
You see yourself in it, and you may see how you're different in it. And it can be helpful to see the process in someone else as well. So that's the work, and I invite you to it.
And I just put your website into the comments as well. So Paul lives in the suburbs of Chicago, however, does phone sessions and things like that. So you can go to his website and learn a little bit more. Do you have any classes coming up?
I have, I don't think so.
If he does, it will be on his website. So you can check that, but you can find out his contact information on his website. Again, doing the work it's just a powerful tool. It's another tool to help you recenter yourself into who you want to be and how you want to show up in the world. It's very much, it does not have like when Katie or Paul are doing the work with you, there is no how dare you kind of thing. It's really a self process on figuring out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. It's a good tool, and I've loved using it myself, especially once I was introduced to Paul. He was the one who really showed me, because I used to think when I first started doing the work before meeting Paul, like, I'm not going to focus on being mad because I'm going to create more of it. But
right.
I was feeling mad, even though I was using words of being I'm happy. So it really is something about, okay, you're feeling angry right now. Is that true? Do you absolutely know it's true? And there would be many a time talking to Paul that I would say, I absolutely know that it's true. And the more you do the work, I would say seldom do I have an absolute knowing of it being true anymore. But
Right.
It's not a right or wrong answer. It's just what you're feeling in that moment. It's a powerful tool. I encourage you to go to Paul's website, to look Katie up on YouTube, and go to her website, which is thework.com. So thank you, Paul.
Thank you, and have a good week, everybody.
Yeah, you too. And we probably won't have you on in November because I won't probably be doing a whole lot in November. But
Right.
I'll check in with you for a December chat. So
Sounds good.
Okay,
Sounds
thanks,
good.
Paul. Have a
Take
good
care.
week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that is the work. Again, it's just another tool to help you recenter and be the person you want to be. It's not wrong to be mad, angry, frustrated, sad, disappointed, uncertain. Those are normal emotions that we all go through. It's how much time and energy do you want to give them. The work helps you see what it is that you're going through and gives you another thing to focus on. So I encourage you to look it out. It's definitely in my toolbox that I use. I will be back next Monday for another chat on bringing a little bit more peace, love, kindness, and compassion to your week. So go out there and have a great day. Maybe it's just go out there and have the best day you can have, regardless of what you're going through. Take a little step forward to feeling just a little bit better. Take care of yourselves, and remember, you matter. You matter to me, you matter to the world, and most importantly, you matter to you. I don't always see the comments when I'm live, but I will come back later and see if there are comments as well. So I'll check in later too. So go out there and have a good day. So long for now.